to come back home. Let's talk about some weather. Yeah, we have Majestic in here this morning. I told her my story about, I'll save you the story, Brittany, but I told her my story about hearing the rain, and I had to sort of figure out something else as far as my run this morning. And then the sun popped out as I was coming into work. I didn't have to deal with the rain.
Wasn't going to last all day. Next sort of event. You got to trust the process.
Sun is out, but are we done with the rain? Like, what's going on here, Brittany?
I don't think we're completely done, but it's just like yesterday where we had pretty consistent rain in the morning and it was sunny and kind of saw some spotty rain late. That will be the same story
That's
today.
not what I wanted to hear.
Well, it's not a lot.
We were kind of over it.
I mean, I think everybody's over it. I think the key is, which like Nick, you remember from earlier this week when we were talking about it on Monday and Tuesday, every single day the rain chances have been less. We saw our most rain on Monday, a little bit less Tuesday, a little bit less Wednesday, a little bit less today. But we're setting up for what's happening this weekend.
Oh, let's get to it, Brittany.
I was going to say Nick's Picks.
Nick's Picks.
Remember I told you on Sunday night that
you did. This was just been a long road to get to Nick's Picks.
How lucky were you we got to hang out 3 days in a row. All right, let's talk about the forecast. Today, we, of course, saw rain early. It is still really muggy, and I think that's the thing that is not going to change that you're going to notice over the next few days. Humidity still stays high, but we will lower those rain chances ever so slightly this weekend. With that being said, temperatures will still be closer to 90 degrees, and we'll still see those feels like temperatures in the upper 90s. Few days getting close to 100, but again, very typical for August. Really more so typical for early August, but since we were so cool for like 12 days in a row of not seeing 90, it feels like August has just jump started as of August, I guess, 14th and 15th. So today, better weather this afternoon with only a few showers and storms, lesser rain Friday, and then this weekend, about a 20% chance on Saturday, temperatures near 90, and a big old goose egg there with 0% on Sunday. So with the rain chances, this is my thought process here. 20% is not a lot, but if you're one of the ones who sees rain in your backyard, then you're not going to be happy about it if you're trying to get out and do some yard work. So if you have things that you have to do outside that you absolutely need to have no rain for, like Carly knows, like that NASCAR race, since they can race in the rain, Sunday. But if you are willing to take that small risk that you could have a pop-up shower, Saturday, just because it's 2 degrees cooler. So really either day, you can take it or leave it. Now, right now on Doppler radar, most of our areas are dry, but I think if this isn't an example of isolated storms, I don't know what is. So we're dry pretty much everywhere, but look at these tiny little pop-up areas that just developed here recently. We have one little tiny shower between Charlotte and Matthews, kind of crossing over Independence Boulevard, Highway 74. We have a little bit of action here on 77 between Pineville and TKK, down toward Fort Mill. And then you have one teeny little shower as well on the southern side of Cabarrus County. That's pretty much west of Midland, pretty much between Midland and Harrisburg, if you're thinking of that as the crow flies. And then a wider view, you can see some light rain there over Lake Wiley. One tiny little storm here on the northern tip of Cleveland County, and then mountains, same thing. So again, it's not much, but where the storms do pop up, we'll see some pockets of heavy rain. We just talked about Doppler radar, so let's look at Futurecast. So here's Futurecast by 5 o'clock. Again, most areas dry, a few little pockets of rain. It's mostly out of here by sunset, which is around 8:30. And then as we head into Friday morning, this is something we have not seen in a few days. Friday morning will be largely dry, still humid, just dry from rain. I know the last few mornings have been very, very rainy. Again, very few storms in the afternoon, and then we're out of here. Past Friday, again, that's where we're going to see that very, very limited 20% chance of rain. So here's the next 7 days. I wouldn't say we're at a pyramid because no day is above 40% chance, but we're going down and then we'll creep back up. But again, it's very normal for this time of year, so we will enjoy the drier weather this weekend regardless of how hot and toasty it is. And it's August, which means we got to talk about the tropics, Nick. Lot of good stuff coming in today about Tropical Storm Erin in terms of better data that we're going to be getting by the afternoon. I'll get to that in just a second. Big changes with Erin's 11 a.m. advisory is that the storm has started to strengthen. We were looking at multiple days of 45 mile per hour winds, which is consistent with a low-end tropical storm. This is one of the first advisories where we've seen 60, so we're seeing some strengthening. Now, as we look ahead to the long-range track, you can see Erin expected to be a hurricane by Friday, eventually a major hurricane this weekend. But then notice the track finally has that north to northeasterly turn that we've been talking about for days. So keep that in your brain as we look ahead. Here's the intensity forecast. That track, of course, shows the increase in numbers, but sometimes that's hard to see, in terms of category 1, 2, 3, etc. So here it is. So right now, tropical storm, category 1, once it hits 74 miles an hour or greater, and then again, we're on an upward trend to a category 3 heading into early next week. So let's talk about what changes today that's going to make us get better data for Erin. Hurricane hunters. First Hurricane Hunter recon mission into Erin happens tonight. Hurricane hunters have already taken off from Biloxi, Mississippi. They are heading to St. Croix, one of the U.S. Virgin Islands. It's this tiny little island here just south, or I guess it's not tiny, it's one of the biggest U.S. Virgin Islands, but tiny in retrospect of us living in the U.S. It's about 100 or so miles south and east there of Puerto Rico. You can see it there on satellite. They'll land in St. Croix. They'll get regassed up, get all their data together, all their drop-ons and all that good stuff, make sure they're good to go, and then they'll be heading into Erin. And if you're like, where's Erin? This is satellite data. It's smack dab in the center of your screen. It's that little
It's a
batch
swirly
of white. Yeah, it's paused, so it's like, but yes, it's the swirly whirly that you see right there in the center. Now, better data. How does that help us know what's happening with Erin? When a storm is about 3,000 miles away from the United States, which it was when it formed earlier this week, we only are relying essentially on satellite data and patterns and trends of models from what we know a storm typically goes based on this criteria and this positioning of steering currents in the past, right? So we're looking at historic data for the most part and what's happening on satellite. As it gets closer to us, we send the hurricane hunters. They fly in and out of the storm. Some of their planes can't fly in and out of the storm, but the one they're going on today, the NOAA P3, can. And they'll be essentially dropping what are called drop-zones into the storm, real-time data that will come back to us, and we can input that into our forecast models. So once you're getting those hurricane hunter missions and you're getting more data, that's when you can become a little bit more, I don't want to say trustworthy of forecast models, because models, just like anything, are a tool that we use to forecast, but better data into the model certainly doesn't hurt. We still have very, very strong model consistency that the storm eventually takes a turn to the north and eventually the northeast. This is next Wednesday, so you can see that there would be likely some impacts near the coast from elevated wave heights. Now, how close does the storm get to us? How far away does it stay? Will impact how bad those wave heights are. If you live in the coastal Carolinas right now, I am not concerned about a direct landfall or anything like that, but I would start to watch the trends in terms of elevated rip current risk and elevated wave heights. If anyone really needs to be more so concerned about a close proximity, at least at this point, I would be a little, and I say concerned very lightly, but I would be a little bit more eyeing the storm if I lived somewhere in the New England states along the coast. So I will at least mention that. We've had some viewers online ask about why the confidence has been so high so far about where Erin goes, and it all has to do with the upper level pattern. We know things can change, but essentially Erin right now is being driven west by really, really strong high pressure. I mentioned this on Monday and Tuesday as well as on our stream and live weather impact, but once those highs split apart, it allows for Erin to move northward because storms take the path of least resistance. If you're telling it to go here, it's going to go there. It eventually gets picked up by the jet stream and pushes out to sea. So again, we have confidence that that north to northeasterly turn will happen. It's where it happens that will determine who is impacted along our eastern seaboard, if anyone. Again, if I live in the Outer Banks, Myrtle Beach, Charleston, Norfolk, Virginia, I'm watching how close will the rip current, or how close will it get to increase our wave heights and our rip currents. So again, indirect impacts possible, but direct, not likely. Here's your hourly forecast for today. Again, temperatures are going to get close to 90. We'll have mid-afternoon potential for rain, and then we're dry for the rest of the day. Here's that coveted 7-day forecast. Knights and Charlotte FC at home this weekend. Temps near 90, little rain chances. I'm going to guess that Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, and maybe even Friday too, are all mixed.
Splish splash days.
It is. It is. And Carlene's splish splash.
I want to
days.
splish splash. I haven't been able to splish splash in a pool.
I keep telling her. I was about to say.
I'll come to the pool.
Keep telling her.
Do you have a pool?
Good.
I do have a pool.
Well,
It always gets shout out to the Renaissance. I love the neighborhood, but it does get overtaken by volleyball players.
Okay,
So,
well then you can
you
come
know,
to
I just want a doggy
I mean,
paddle.
look-
I don't want to play volleyball. You know what I mean?
Brittany, I told you I told her she could split splash.
No, I'm not gonna splish splash in the rain, Nick. You keep saying I'm not gonna splish splash in the rain.
There's not even enough rain for you to splish splash.
Yeah.
But
Unless you found a retention pond or something.
this morning it was.
Nick, that is not enough to splish splash. She's trying to enjoy her day at the pool.
Yeah.
Give her
Okay, all
any
right.
ideas.
Enjoy your day. You're gonna have some splish splash days and
Yeah.
pool days, but more importantly, Nick's picks are back. It's been in hiatus, and yeah, so they're making a comeback.
Just remember, I'm the messenger.
Okay.
If I could control the weather, I would be a billionaire. So.
We're going to figure that out. Somehow we're going to figure that out. Brittany Van Voorhees will be back at 2:30. Brittany, thank you for your time.
I'll see you then.
Thanks, Britt.
You're welcome.
We'll figure it out. Weather.
All right,
Yeah.
we'll start working on that.
All right. Again, Brittany will be back at 2:30 with more on the forecast and what's happening there in the tropics.